In the eternal necessary domain, the domain of being, entropy is always zero. The temperature is always zero. There is no friction, no gravity, no matter, no space, no time. The system is perfectly superconductive. It cannot be degraded in any way. But science refuses to accept the eternal and necessary, the immaterial, the perfect, the ideal, the purely mathematical. These are all forbidden by science, although it can give no answers for why they should be forbidden beyond paradigmatic dogmatism. Because it forbids all of these things, science instead has to turn to chance, accident, randomness, causation, indeterminism, indeterminacy, statistics, probability, emergentism, and so on. Its entire playbook of the irrational, illogical, and miraculous. Imagine how different science would be if science recognized that imperfect, temporal, and contingent, synthetic a posteriori science was the product of perfect, eternal, and necessary, analytic a priori mathematics. Rather than accept a rational and logical foundation, science prefers randomness, chance, accident, and, let's not beat about the bush, miracle. Anything to avoid God, ho ho ho. Reality can have an answer only if there is a perfect, ideal, eternal, and necessary analytic a priori order. One that we can reach exclusively through reason and logic, one that does not require us to observe anything, perform any experiments, or have any experiences, i.e., one that does not require science. Science refuses to accept such an order, since it would mean that science is not the answer to existence. Science dogmatically excludes all perfect ideal processes. It detests the perfect and ideal because they denote pure math. Kant believed that ultimate reality was unknowable. That's because he believed that pure reason fails when detached from the empirical order. But it doesn't fail at all. It delivers pure, pristine mathematics, ontological mathematics, the explanation of everything. Kant had a catastrophic misunderstanding of mathematics. He simplistically associated mathematics with space and time, i.e., he derived them from space and time as opposed to deriving space and time from mathematics. The Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy says, Kant held that space and time are the forms of experience and provide the a priori, intuitive sources of mathematical content. For Kant, there are two a priori intuitions, space and time, and these provide the form of all experience. All experiences, inner and outer, are temporal or in time, and all outer experiences are also spatial. A thought or desire might be an example of a non-spatial but temporal experience, and taking a walk would be in both space and time. According to Kant, the mind comes equipped with these forms, for otherwise, he argues, we could not account for the coherence, structure, and universality of human experience. In his vision, a priori intuition, or spatiotemporality, helps to mold brute sensations into the objects of experience. These same a priori intuitions, the a priori form of all experience, also explain how mathematics is both a priori, non-empirical, and yet has non-trivial content. In short, a priori intuition supplies the non-empirical content of mathematics. Mathematics has a distinctive subject matter, but that subject matter is not provided by some external reality, platonic or otherwise. Rather, it is provided a priori by the mind itself. Intuitive space provides much of the a priori synthetic content for geometry, which is Euclidean for Kant, and intuitive time provides the a priori synthetic content for quantitative mathematics. This makes mathematical knowledge both synthetic and a priori. It is synthetic because it is not mere analysis of concepts and has an intuitive subject matter. It is a priori because its subject matter or content, spatiotemporality, is given a priori by the form of experience. Kant was forever sneering at the analytic, the mere analysis of concepts, as if it were some trivial exercise. Wittgenstein had the same contempt for analytic tautology. As ever, the things that the failed thinkers most sneer at are exactly where you go to find the truth. The analytic a priori, not the synthetic a priori, is decisive. There is no such thing as the synthetic a priori. This pseudo-category was invented by Kant. It's as idiotic as the analytic a posteriori. There is no such thing as that either. There are only two games in town. 1. The analytic a priori, the eternal and necessary, the rational, truths of reason, relations of ideas, and 2. The synthetic a posteriori, the temporal and contingent, the empirical, truths of fact, matters of fact. Kant wasn't rational and logical enough to detach mathematics from space and time. He couldn't conceive of mathematics in itself. He phenomenalized mathematics and failed to nominalize it. He associated it with the phenomenal world, as that which frames the phenomenal world, and never once considered that it might be what defines the noumenal world, which he absurdly believed was unknowable. In ontological Fourier mathematics, there's a frequency domain, an immaterial domain outside space and time, and a space-time domain of matter. Kant was intellectually unable to comprehend a frequency domain, and that's why he ended up with his ludicrous, unknowable things in themselves. The noumena are in fact analytic mathematical frequencies, and they are the most knowable things of all, the exact definition of knowability. Kant argued that mathematics necessarily deals with space and time. In fact, it necessarily deals with frequency, the precursor of space and time. It's amazing how one idea can destroy an entire philosophy. Kant, far from being able to validly critique pure reason, which he imagined his greatest triumph, carving out a space for his Christian faith, had no clue what pure reason actually is. Pure reason is precisely what leads us to the a priori, analytic, eternal and necessary frequency domain of pure basis sinusoids, basis thoughts, which the senses and empiricism can never access. Far from being unknowable, they are absolutely knowable. Kant wasn't a mathematician and fatally misunderstood mathematics, and thus fatally understood pure reason. That's why he launched a demented attack on pure reason, one of the greatest philosophical crimes of all time, tantamount to a full-scale attack on philosophy and a repudiation of authentic knowledge. That's why he ended up saying, "I had to deny knowledge in order to make room for faith." A man of faith, a Lutheran Christian such as Kant, is extremely likely to attack pure reason. Did not Martin Luther himself say, "Reason is the devil's whore"? All practicing Lutherans have an inbuilt distrust and even hatred of reason. They understand that it's the greatest enemy of their faith and they feel a compulsion to attack it. No practicing Lutheran has ever been on the side of reason. Kant didn't grasp that mathematics is pure reason and the great instrument of liberation from faith and the Lutheran God. Kant was a disgrace to philosophy, someone whose loyalty to his irrational faith warped and perverted his intellect. All of Kant's bizarre ideas concerning supposedly unknowable reality flowed from his failure to grasp that the nominal domain is pure reason, the very thing he so assiduously rejected. And pure reason is nothing but pure mathematics. The nominal domain has nothing to do with faith. God is not an indefinable mystery. God is the exact thing Kant most dreaded, pure reason, defined by the principle of sufficient reason.